nothing. A screen here that does not work. It should be here.
Welcome into the Stokastic.com live for lock show for UFC Vegas 59, which goes down later today here in Las Vegas. Of course, lock time is now, I believe it's now 7:30 p.m. each time, unless something has changed. Of course, we have lost a couple fights. We'll talk about that. And we are sponsored by Prize Picks. We'll talk about some of those Prize Picks props later on in the show. Hopefully you took advantage of those props we mentioned on the strategy show on Thursday, because, well, if you didn't take advantage of those props, well, those prop numbers are way gone. They are not even close to being there anymore. And of course, we're going to break this one down for you. Of course, you got any questions, you can leave those in our Discord chat if you're a Stokastic Plus member, or right here in the YouTube chat. Of course, if you do leave a super chat, your question will go to the top of the queue. And I am joined by the fighter Pete Rogers Jr., who apparently is in the dungeon. He's working so hard breaking this card down. He's gone into the dungeon.
Yeah, I don't know what or the doghouse. I'm somewhere. I'll tell you what. I'm at my brother-in-law's house. He's got an amazing setup because he games, but this is like completely out of my element. I got 25 screens, 3 mics, a camera here, 2 keyboards. I'm just afraid to move. I'm afraid to get up. So yeah, I'm here for the strategy for the live before lock show with you guys, and this card has been hit from Maine to Spain, unfortunately. And it's going to be a lot of duplicate lineups. So we have to get weird to get unique. And I'm interested to see, how you're going to get unique. It's going to be tough.
So 2 fights have been scratched over the last 24 hours. Last night it started with Jason Witt and Josh Quinlan, scratch targeted to take place next week there at the San Diego card. And then earlier today, we heard Ariana Lipsky. She was deemed medically not able to compete. So her matchup against Priscilla Cachoeira has also been postponed, scheduled to take place next week. That fight next week will be at 135 pounds. So the fighters do not have to cut weight for that one. So we are, down to the fights that we have now. And how this changes roster construction. And Pete, earlier today, me and you were texting back and forth, and we're kind of talking about, how we're trying to build some lineups. And you had mentioned to me about potentially going all in on somebody. It got me going down that rabbit hole, Pete.
Oh boy, I'm sorry.
No, actually, I'm glad you did this. I'm thrilled you did this, because I was like, okay, we know that this is going to be split city tonight. Let's just be honest about it. Big GPP. So it's like, how can I get super different to try to differentiate myself from the field? And I'm looking at this slate and I'm going, okay, who are the fighters? Speaking on a DraftKings perspective, because that's where I'm playing today. If you got any FanDuel questions, we'll take your FanDuel questions as well. But who are the fighters that have the potential to score 110, 120 and above? And he's the most expensive fighter. I land on Terence McKinney, because first off, the 60-second bonus is live.
Mm-hmm.
Knockdown is live. Takedown is live. And so now look, will I change my crunch by the time we get to lock? Maybe. But call me crazy. In my 20 max, I locked Terence McKinney and I locked Miranda Granger.
Oh yeah. Well, the second part is what could be crazy. The Terence McKinney, I think, is going to be everybody's natural solution to this card, right? Like, he's clearly the best stud on the slate. He's priced accordingly. If he was any cheaper, he would be broken. There's a lot of expectations surrounding Terence McKinney today. And, we have to talk about his previous performance against Drew Dober, where he came out in electric fashion and hit him with tons of combinations, devastating punches, landed some takedowns, was on his way to breaking the slate, getting up north of 130 points. And Dober, the stiffest test to date in McKinney's career, looked like he was passing with flying colors. But the same old situation reared its ugly head, and that's where McKinney somewhat gasses. He has a questionable cardio and a questionable gas tank, in my opinion. I feel like he's always in good shape, but it's pacing, which is an issue. It's pedal to the metal from the start of the fight until as long as he lasts. So he represents the best upside on the slate, clearly. But I think that's everybody's go-to, right? Like I was probably going to do that in the majority of my lineups to begin with. Never mind when we lose 2 fights. So I think for me, I'm not getting away from it. I'm just getting to some really, really ugly underdogs more so than I was planning.
So when I initially started going down the crunch line of this, I started off with locking in McKinney, and then and I sent Pete what the crunch was, and what I didn't like about the crunch was getting to 45% of Muhammad Usman. Now, prior to Lipsky and Ketchaware canceling, I actually really liked my 20 max crunch. I was really happy, kind of got exposure all over the place. But today's just one of those days that we have to try to get different. The next thought process has got to be to stack or not to stack.
Oh, great question. Yeah, great question. So normally main events, anything that has 5 rounds, I'm not against stacking. It just comes down to specific matchups. I think if there is a fight to stack, clearly you want to stack the main event. My issue with that is the volume of Thiago Santos. He sometimes puts his back against the cage. He's okay with, just waiting for that perfect counter shot. So say it even hits the 3rd or 4th round. Does he really get 30, 40 points in a loss? Maybe not. It could happen. I am getting to more Thiago Santos than I originally planned, just because we got to do something. Losing Josh Quinlan really hurt a lot of my lineups. Losing Cachoeira as a dog hurt a lot of my lineups. I may be picking certain fighters, but I have to get exposure to some competitive matchups, and that's why Cachoeira really was in a lot of my stuff. So this week, salary being left on the table is clearly a given. If you are underweight to McKinney and he somehow does not deliver an excellent round 1 performance, I think it could work out for you. Now, that's sometimes where it's good chalk, right? Like McKinney is good chalk, and it's a dangerous, dangerous thought to get away from it because you're going to be sitting on the edge of your seat. And I do think that Gonzalez has, some skills that a lot of people are disrespecting. Clearly, as the fight goes longer, I shouldn't say it favors him, but I would like to think that he has a legitimate shot if this does go longer. So weather the storm and test the cardio of McKinney. I mean, come on, we're throwing darts here at these bottom feeders, and we'll have to see how it works out. But everybody's going to be turning to McKinney.
I spoke to Terence Mckinney about 2.5 weeks ago, and I mean, look, did I walk away from the conversation going that I think it does bother him that people have this perception of him that he has cardio issues? Yes. But the other thing he said to me was, he goes, look, I don't want to be known as a guy who goes 15 minutes. I don't want to be known as a guy who has a great chin. I want to be known as a guy who goes out there and finishes fights. And I think part of that equation is you're looking at, you have a fighter that's going, I'm looking for 3 checks. I'm looking for getting my show money, my win money, and my fight bonus. So that's what he's chasing there. There's something to kind of think about there with Terence McKinney. Of course, this is the Stokastic.com live 4 lock show. Of course, a great way to show your support for the show is to smash that thumbs up button right here on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with everything we got going on over here at YouTube. Of course, when you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when a show is live here on the channel. Of course, coming up after us will be MLB Live Before Lock, and this week's free premium data and tools is our DraftKings MLB Night Owl, which will be free for the rest of the MLB season. All you got to do is click that link in the video description below to get full access to all of our tools and projections for MLB DFS night slates. Next topic I want to get into before we start to kind of get into listener questions here is underdogs with GPP upside. Takashi Soto sticks out to me, as one of those fighters. I mean, look, we can talk about that. You don't love a lot of what's underneath 8,000, but looking at these fighters underneath 8,000 that I believe have GPP upside. Okay. So it's Thiago Santos, 7,200. I think you presented the picture very clearly. The concern there is lack of volume, particularly if this fight goes longer, 4th, 5th round type situation. Jeff Neal is 7,700. To me, Pete, like someone asked me in office hours, they said, Take Jeff Neal or Miranda Granger. Who would I pick? I think Neal's got the higher probability of winning the fight, but I think in terms of a GPP upside, I'd rather get to Granger than Neal because I project if Neal gets a victory, it's him via decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to tell because sometimes not all decisions are created equal. And like he could land takedowns, he could land knockdowns. We've seen Vicente Luque get hit with a ton of shots, ton of damage. And, when I come down to a 1-for-1 type of situation and I'm having a hard time deciding between them, sometimes I'll just create another lineup and play both of them. But if I'm only sticking to one, then I will probably favor the more skilled fighter. So the more skilled fighter, pound for pound, in my opinion, is Jeff Neal over Miranda Granger.
Oh, no question.
I would say Jeff Neal in that situation. And that was my text to you when we lost Priscilla Cachoeira. Despite me not really loving her, my lineups, I got to a ton of her, just how I constructed my groups. So the natural pivot was from Cachoeira to Jeff Neal. I love Vicente Luque, but I have to do something with this slate, man. You know what I mean? Like it's tough. I'm not going to have, 30-40% on Gonzalez and Granger. And like, I can't do that. And Sam Alvey, I have a lot of them, but like, I'd rather spend up towards the upper tier underdogs.
Yeah, I mean, then you look at someone like a Mo Usman at 7,300. It's heavyweight MMA. I'm kind of thinking that fight's going to go a little longer. Maybe goes 15 minutes. Brogan Walker, she's 7,900, does have an experience advantage, but I think she needs to keep that fight on the feet. Augusto Sakai, really don't want to get there at 7,400. Really don't want to get to Sam Alvey at 6,900. Eric Gonzalez, I think, is a interesting dart throw. If he can get this fight out of the first round and maybe see, what does that cardio look like for Terence McKinney? Mention about Takashi Soda, mention about Miranda Granger. So those are the fighters that are underneath 8,000. I mean, it's just going to be, this is one of those slates where it's just going to be very tough to kind of get different from the field. So, we're going to take some chances, Pete. I mean, it's not a 13, 14 fight card. We got 10 fights.
Yeah, it's a volatile card. And, maybe getting to 4 underdogs. I know that sounds really stupid, but maybe at 3, maybe that's a way to separate yourself. It's hard to get to McKinney and not reach at the bottom. It just is. Like, you can only have so many lineups with McKinney and only 1 underdog or 2. You know what I mean? So I think that the roster construction is going to be extremely pivotal. I am not envious of anybody playing big money today. I really am not. I think it's a very, very tough thing to do. If you are in a bind right now, you could look towards stacking some abnormal fights. Like if somebody's priced like crazy cheap, like say maybe even like a Sam Al. I don't know how you could even, besides the Thiago Santos and Jamal Hill, that's clearly the stack everybody's going to look towards. But you know how like sometimes these mid-range fights, I was thinking Ricky Simone against Jack Shore. Remember how we thought that was going to be just action-packed like crazy? So I stacked a few of it just because. Maybe the Jeff Neal Vicente Luque is a sneaky weird stack. I wouldn't be surprised if something odd, completely off the wall, won it all today.
Yeah, it's someone asked me earlier, they said, what do you think the probability is that tonight's optimal winning lineup has a fighter that only scores between 60 and 70 points?
Yeah, I'd say 70% likely it's going to happen. I mean, we could have 2 losers in there tonight, and it could be a situation where you punt 2 spots to spend up for 4 studs. You have to think outside the box today.
Corey, I appreciate your super chat. He says, thoughts on fading McKinney altogether and pivots to Hill on DraftKings. I figured that would be different enough. I mean, Corey, that would be completely different because you're getting away from the chalk of the slate, no question. The concern to have with that, even at the price tag of 9,500, your fear is going to be Terence McKinney goes out there and just wrecks Eric Gonzalez in the first minute, and he puts up a massive number. Now, if you think that fight's going to drag out, like to me, I understand why you're thinking of pivoting to Jamal Hill,
Mm.
But Jamal Hill's the second highest owned fighter on the slate as we're projecting. So to me, and then, I'm looking at where could I pivot to where maybe there's really value.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could ever fade McKinney in a situation like this. I mean, Jim Miller hit Gonzalez with a left hand and he made him face plant. And I know that Jim Miller has looked not career best, but he's kind of had a little career resurgence in the past couple of years. The thing with McKinney, right, is he doesn't have to just strike. He can wrestle. He can literally take Gonzalez to takedown city. He could rack up 3, 4, 5 endless takedowns en route to a TKO or submission finish. He has way more paths to victory than Gonzalez as long as he paces himself correctly. And I can't tell you if he's going to do that. I can't tell you if any of these fighters are going to have the correct fight IQ. But what I can say is from a leverage standpoint, there are some 9,000 options to me that don't look as appealing as McKinney, like Corey McKenna. I mean, I think she's everybody's kind of underweight to her today. And maybe not, maybe I'm wrong on that, but I feel like we're going to be reaching for some of these cheap guys, cheap players. And I think Corey McKenna could be a leverage play today.
Oh, she's very much a leverage play. We're projecting
I don't like her.
We're projecting her at 20% ownership. Like if you sit there and you want to get different with these 9,000 options, she is the fighter to get to. Now, what concerns me about this, and I think Pete, you can talk about this from a fight aspect. She's got a 10-inch reach disadvantage in this fight. I mean, that's massive, Pete.
Yeah, it is.
Like if you're coaching McKenna, what has been the thought process of the entire camp, knowing you're at that much of a reach disadvantage?
Well, when I was fighting at 45, I had probably 7 to 10 inches of reach on a lot of my opponents. So I could just tell you what they wanted to do. They wanted to time any of my combinations, slip underneath them, look to change levels, and not be on the outside. They either need to be all the way in, or so to land combinations, or implementing a clinch. So it's a lot easier said than done, because even if McKenna gets in on those hips, it's not like an automatic takedown at all, because now you're taking down a taller opponent. And as Dominic Cruz always says, it's like taking down a table. You can literally, like as a tall fighter, you can get a lot of leverage against your opponent. You can sprawl your hips. You can, have your legs post like kickstands just to keep your balance. So I think Corey McKenna is in a tricky spot here. The narrative of Granger, having her pregnancy and waiting, and it's her first fight back. She's not acclimated. McKenna threw up a goose egg in her previous performance against Elise Reed. How does she rebound? If you want to look at what it is, like Team Alpha Male they're very inconsistent. Like Mason Jones really let me down, and I'm never going to forget it. He let me down a couple weekends ago, and I thought that he's one of their best guys out there. And truly from a team aspect, we do see, I'm not going to say negative results, but extremely inconsistent results with Team Alpha Male.
Yeah. Of course, this is the Stokastic.com live for lock show. I do want to let you know about a promo we got going on right now, as Underdog has launched their Puppy 3 Best Ball contest for the upcoming 2022 NFL season. You want to reserve your spot before it quickly fills up. With this, we are offering $1 access to our Best Ball kit through Tuesday, August the 9th. That's $8.99 off the original weekly price. This package includes Best Ball and season-long fantasy football rankings, Underdog daily draft rankings, and more. To activate this offer, use the promo code Puppy3 at checkout, or simply click the link in the video description below. That's promo code Puppy3 for $1 weekly Best Ball draft kit access. Of course, make sure to subscribe to our Stokastic Fantasy Football and Best Ball YouTube channels for daily videos from all of our experts here at Stokastic, as they'll give you the edge on the competition. Of course, check us out on all of our social media platforms as well. And with the NFL preseason kicking off, which means we have preseason DFS projections. We're giving them for you only $1 through August the 10th. You can find the link for that as well in the description below. Use a promo code preseason at checkout. Yeah, let's watch a little preseason football here tonight when I was working here in the office, and it reminds you what preseason football is. It definitely reminds you of what that is there.
Reminds you what Jags football is about too. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, be sure to check out that. Sam, appreciates your super chat. He goes, battle looked like trash on weigh-ins. I believe his durability will be in trouble because of bad weight cut. And Sato hits like a truck. Sato by knockouts.
Y'all are late to the party. I've been saying that I really like Takashi Sato. Now, I think he's going to get more ownership than he was prior to the cancellations, obviously. Um, Not all weight cuts result in negative performances, though. Let's remember that, right? Like there was a time, and we mentioned it last week, Jason, where fighters who miss weight had 65, 70% winning percentage, right? Wasn't that correct for a while? And
Yeah.
you know, I do think that he's at a weight class that fits him. It's just a matter of if he did things correctly. Did he is he going to be at his full potential? Did the weight cut take anything away from his performance, or is it going to? You know, he may feel okay, but if it hits round 2 and round 3, that's when you can really see things. And it happens a lot where fighters cut a tremendous amount of weight and then that chin is deteriorated. So I think Takashi Sato via KO is something to sprinkle for prop betting. And obviously, I do think that Sato's decent. It's more of a not fade battle, but it's kind of like I'm a little underweight to battle, expecting him to just ragdoll him. Now he's a bigger guy; he could clearly do so, but I am worried about him.
Liker hopping in the super chat there. He says, my question today is, am I a fool for having a ton of Usman and Spivak today? I'm terrified. I will tell you this. I know my guy Pete here has got a ton of Spivak.
Oh God,
the Usman side of that equation, man, it's low level heavyweight. And the one thing about Zach is he's really a light heavyweight, but he is Curtis Blade's main training partner.
Let me tell you, if Spivak loses tonight, it's gonna be a rough one for your boy. I thought that I tried to put my mind in how everybody's going to navigate through this slate, and everybody's going to go to that McKinney. I wanted to find somebody in the 8K range that I could trust. Now, I'm not there yet as far as labeling Sergey Spivak a trustworthy heavyweight. I do think that he has multiple paths to victory against a lethargic heavyweight in Augusto Sakai, who has been really struggling. And I know that his confidence must be shattered as well. He's been TKO'd in his past 3 fights. He likes to strike, but when you're getting TKO'd in your favorite realm of the fight, you know what I mean? Like I think that even Sergey Spivak could knock him out. So I think he's going to. If I was in Sergey's corner, I would say let's hit him early. Let's remind him of what we can do, and then we're going to threaten with the takedown. So I'm hoping points galore. My issue is if Sergey's just lured into a striking matchup and forgets he has this ace up his sleeve of wrestling. And then that's where an Augusto Sakai, who's a talented kickboxer, can win rounds. So for me personally, Augusto Sakai is one of my lightest pieces on the entire slate. If you disagree with me, that's fine, because it is heavyweight and it only takes a couple of shots. And I don't like how Spivak responds to some big shots sometimes.
I will tell you, on the FanDuel side of the equation, talking about underdogs that stick out to me. Bueno Silva at $14 was someone that kind of jumped off the table at me.
Yeah. I mean, today I was pretty aggressive with Bueno Silva too. If you remember, I sent you my exposures, and yeah, I'm pretty aggressive. And the reason is underdogs are ugly. So if you don't like anybody under 8,000, how about 8,000 flat? You know what I mean? We know that 8,200, 8,000 fights, very, very popular and makes or breaks a slate more often than not. And she has grappling upside. So naturally, she's going to be one of the most popular plays. So I want to, on a day like today, go completely opposite. And I like the hands of Mayra Bueno Silva. I don't like how she can get controlled on the mat. But if it's standing up, I think she can knock out Stephanie Egger.
Speaking of the FanDuel side of the equation and looking over at the MVP, look, ton of MVP ownership going to 2 guys, Terence McKinney, Jamal Hill. We really should not be surprised by that. So on the FanDuel slate, if you want to get different, there's a lot of ways you can get different. Like if I was going to look at getting different on the FanDuel slate, I might look at that co-main event.
Yeah. I mean, Co-main events, I tell you, I don't hate it from a stacking standpoint, but I also don't hate it from just an overall exposure standpoint. People get a little too crazy about predicting decisions. Decisions can account for good fantasy points, especially on a slate like today, like mid 80s. That's fine. Mid 80s are fine. We're gonna have some stinkers on there, so it's there's only so many combinations you can have with some of the top dogs, and I think the price tag on both of them on either platform is completely fine.
Get some other super chats that have come in here. Sam Pierce, he goes, thoughts on a lineup, thoughts on line up after two fights being canceled. Granger Hill, McKinney, Olszewski, Sakai, Sato.
Sounds fine. Sounds
Yeah,
fine.
I mean, the only one that I really don't love there is the Augusto Sakai. That'd be the only one that I really don't like. But the rest of them, I understand that. I mean, look, I will say this, Sam. I think it in trying to separate yourself from the field, because I mean, we know what today is going to be. I don't mind that lineup in that way.
Yeah. And I mean, Tokyo, I don't agree with you saying Sakai is just better than Spivak. I mean, is he? I mean, this isn't this 2022. Momentum is a thing. He could win for sure. But if you laid out all their skills on the table, Spivak checks more boxes. I don't think that there's such a difference in their striking. Like, okay, Sakai's good, but Spivak has, more paths to victory. So there's no way I'm gonna not get to Spivak at 8,800.
Samuel, he goes, who do you consider the top darts now with 10 fights? I mean, look, it's 10 fights. The two guys that stick out to me, and it's just ownership. I don't want to get there, but they're both under 10%. That's Sam Alvey and Eric Gonzalez.
Oh, I got more than 10%. I'm losing my mind today. Yeah, Gonzalez, Alvey, I hate them both, but we don't know. I mean, like Alvey's been in some close split decisions, right? Like some fights, I know he's like 0-7-1 in his past 8 fights.
And by the way, he's not retiring. He's made that known.
He'll probably get his deal renewed.
He is saying, the quote was basically how he's going out there to fight to get a new contract.
Well, okay, but I mean, he is down at this weight class, so maybe.
No, hey, Sam Alvey. If I'm Sam Alvey's manager, I'm going, hey, Sam, we win this fight. We're going to take off the next couple months. We're trying to go into the PFL, man. You see what they got over there?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, come on. Like that's got to be, if you're Sam Alvey, that is the play.
Yeah, I mean, Alvey has a dangerous check hook. Let's be real. He does have some dangerous pop in his hands, and sometimes an over-aggressive fighter can walk into a shot. Yeah, I was watching it last night with PFL where, mid-combination, if you don't respect your opponent, it's good as long as they don't throw a counter shot and you're a sitting duck on the center line. So, like, Alvey could land a big shot. I mean, split decision to Ryan Spann, draw to Dao Un Jung. Like, come on. This guy should not be in competitive matchups like that. So I don't want to play him, but I'm strapped for options.
Yeah, by the way, speaking of last night's PFL, Malkikawa, who represents Showtime Pettis, he quoted Pettis put a picture where he said 2 broken hands.
Yeah.
And Malky said this man has fought all season with a fractured hand. They entered the other one in the first round, basically fought with 2 broken hands.
I was watching that. Yeah, I mean,
kick more. Duh.
Yeah, kick more. Use your elbows. Defend the takedowns.
I thought he was getting submitted in the first round when Ray got him down the ground, and the face, he just looked like he was going to get submitted.
Yeah, that was some easy money. Is betting on Stevie Ray last night, and Pettis, I hope the best for him, but he's not the same fighter that he used to be. It's just clear.
No, it's very obvious, and you can kind of see just the difference in his frame comparison to some of these other lightweight frames. Of course, we are sponsored by Prize Picks. They got their daily prop-based contests. And of course, when you use that promo code, also when you sign up, they got an instant first match deposit up to $100. 5-player lineups can net you up to 10 times your entry free. And of course, I mentioned about this beginning of the show. If you did not take advantage of those numbers we mentioned on the strategy show on Thursday, They are long gone. We mentioned Jamal Hill, significant strikes landed. Thursday, it was 30.5. That number is now 38.5. We also mentioned Vicente Luque on Thursday. Significant strikes landed at that point were 54.5. It's now 60.5. Fight time on that one has gone up 2.5 minutes to 12.5. So looking at some of the props that stick out to me over there on Prize Picks, Pete, I still like the over 12.5 fight time on Vicente Luque. I think this fight's going 15 minutes. And then I'm going to go in the fight time as well. And on the Usman Zach fight, and I'm going to say over 12.5 fight minutes.
Yeah, I like the over on that. As long as Pauga is able to not land that kill shot, I think the over makes a ton of sense. And I'm not as convinced as you. Like, I think Vicente Luque via decision is a popular play today, but like it all depends on the style of fight. If it's a patient type of striking affair, then it's going to go 15. If they come out chaotic in round one, then I totally don't think it's going to go the distance. So I might actually dabble a little bit with the under.
Of course, be sure to check out our friends over there at Prize Picks. They are the sponsor of the Stokastic.com MMA Live Before Lock show. And when you use that promo code AWESOME, they got an instant first match deposit of up to $100. So if you want to deposit $100, they'll give you an additional 100. Or maybe if you only want to put 20 in your account, they'll give you $20. So be sure to check out our friends over there at Prize Picks. You can play right now, prizepicks.com, or you can download their app in the App Store or on the Google Play Store as well. Of course, if you got any questions, if you're in a Discord chat, just mention me so it pops up. It's easier for me to kind of go through the chat that way. And of course, if you got a super chat, your question will go to the top of the queue, kind of get some questions. I came in a little bit earlier on in the show that maybe some things that we have not talked about. Let's see here. Wow. I hope this person is just trolling people, saying he has Sam Alvey in 80% of lineups.
He's either a genius or he's a little reckless. And sometimes, it's okay to be a little reckless, especially on a weird day. Something weird's going to happen. 80% is way too much, though. Like, You don't need that much. You're like, let's say the field has 10%, right? You could put 20%, you just doubled the field. Why put yourself in a corner other than trying to find all possible combinations with a completely long dart? So I don't know. That's way too much. He's definitely trolling.
And the one thing that always concerns me about Sam Alvey, kind of like Thiago Santos, he doesn't throw. He's a counter striker.
Yeah.
He's like Tyron Woodley. He loves to put his back up against that fence. He loves it. Mm-hmm. That's like his best friend, bro.
Yeah. Dave Broom says tough times. Need some bread for the light bill. No, I'm at home. So I'm at my in-laws. So this is the best I can do. And yeah, we're here. I actually got, like I said, I got all the equipment in the world except for lights. I don't know how we don't have lights, but it's all right. Any dreams last night besides a new chair? Sam Pierce says with the super chat. Thank you so much, Sam. No dreams last night.
How many of these 3 women's bouts end up optimal?
Jason, I really was thinking the same exact thing. I couldn't believe it. I was making lineups and I'm like, there's so much women's MMA on this card. Like, imagine if you just targeted 2 women's MMA underdogs. Like, that's not crazy, especially with the consistent underdogs cashing in women's MMA.
Cash question here. With Hill in lineup, y'all think Alvey or Santos is the play? God, I mean, they're both, but Santos and Alvey just don't throw. That's what concerns me. I mean, like I would, since it's cash, I'd go Santos just because he's got 5 rounds.
Yep, that's exactly what. And are we okay? I really like Jamal Hill, but Jason, let's have a conversation since we got plenty of time to have this conversation.
Okay.
Jamal Hill is always the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if he's not the hammer in this fight? Just saying. I know it's completely in my eyes. It's low percentage. How does he respond? We haven't even seen him 3, 4, 5 rounds where it's it's a step up of competition because of the name, but we don't know if a guy's ready until we see it. And it's better to be early than late. So that's why I've taken some Thiago Santos flyers today, even though I am picking Jamal Hill to win.
The only problem I have with that, Pete, is just the last time we seen Thiago Santos really show up and ball out 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, when I sparred Thiago Santos, I didn't know who the heck he was. And then until after, because nobody wanted to spar him because he was burying liver kicks against everybody. So similar to how Paul Craig snatched up the arm with a dangerous submission game. Thiago Santos, he may be, one-dimensional in a sense from a striking standpoint, but if that one skill lands, man, just like look at Kai Kara France, that surprised me. I didn't think that a body kick was going to end it, but it can, and it'll shut the body right down. So that's, he's worth a flyer.
Next question is who's our favorite cheap plays on FanDuel? Bueno Silva at $14 would stick up there. I love the upside Takashi Soto at $10. Jeff Neal $13 I think is another interesting cheap play over there on FanDuel.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. Those sound pretty good. Only DraftKings for me today, but if you're playing on FanDuel, good luck and definitely get some exposure to some of those mispriced fighters.
Samuel, appreciate you in the super chat. He goes, must refund my over-under number. Is Pete in some battle cage or considering McKinney that define lock word and top captain mode choices?
I am not going to say the word lock when I'm talking about a fighter who has been knocked out several times. And I won't say quit, but has the gas tank issues that McKinney has. At least he's shown those in the past. Could he have fixed them and developed? Absolutely. But there's no way I'm going to label lock. Even if he's in a great matchup. He's very close. He's in a phenomenal matchup, but I'm not going to say lock. You can't say lock with this type of volatility. Hamza against John Phillips, you say lock with that. We don't say lock here.
I mentioned this on the strategy show. I think I'll mention this here again. Terence McKinney's main trading partner is Saeed Yokub, and we saw what he did to Ronnie Lawrence, 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago?
That might have been one of our best calls ever. I like Saeed Yokub, and I have to tell you, I didn't expect that. You know what I mean? I thought it was just going to be, he'll win a decision. I did not expect that. He made Ronnie Lawrence look like he didn't know how to wrestle.
In terms of the captain contest, the McKinney number is so large at 14.4 as a captain. I would kind of look to go down to Spivak at 12,300 to save some salary.
Yeah, I mean, Spivak is a staple for all my lineups today, and I don't want you guys to make the same mistake as me. It's just I'm going to go out on my shield today, just of how annoying this slate is. If Spivak loses, you already know I'm done. But as far as like a outside person, Sakai and heavyweights in general, they have a better chance than some of these other underdogs. So definitely get to some Sakai. But for captain, if I was playing it, Spivak would be my guy at 12-3.
Yeah. Let's get some other questions in here that we haven't talked about yet.
Jason, we have 500 people checking us out on a card like this. You guys are the best, and we truly appreciate the support. If you could hit that like button, get us over 150 likes, it does the entire team, Jason, Tyler, myself, and Stokastic. We would truly appreciate it.
If you had to pick one, Hill or McKinney, it's McKinney for me.
Yeah, it's McKinney in a bubble.
Plus also easier matchup.
Yeah. Oh, we got Loco in the chat. Thank you for all that you do for the company as well. He says, yo, Pete, Brogan Walker or Juliana Miller? Thursday, I said potential. I like Miller, right? I like her jiu-jitsu. The only issue I have is the physicality of Brogan Walker. And, you talk about that's a difference maker in women's MMA. I'm not as confident as I was on Thursday. So I wish I could give you a clear answer, Loco, but I might say I might lean towards the underdog more so than I was on Thursday.
I'm leaning Juliana Miller because of
Okay.
the grappling.
Yeah, I mean, I think if she takes her down, it's a wrap. It's just a matter of if she can and what happens if Walker just styles on her on the feet. It's so low level, like it's terrible.
Can Spivak be the next Dontel Mays?
No, Spivak's going to be the next Hamza Shemaev today. That's what we're talking about. He's not going to be the Dontel Mays. He's going to hopefully do well. And Dontel Mays let a lot of people down the other weekend. And who's he against? Hamdi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the third round, when Kerry Hatley, for whatever God knows reason, stands him up when Hamdi is just on top of him. Like, he's not just laying there. I'm just sitting there going, you just bailed out that fighter on the ground.
Yeah.
It's not the referee's job to get you off your back.
Yeah, I'm like Joe Rogan, but not as
I'm not as
drastic. Right.
Yeah. I'm not as drastic. Like, I mean, you gotta be doing something, but I'm like, what? And then because you could see it coming. And I'm just like, no, man, no, that was an awful move.
I mean, Dontel Mays isn't a bad fighter. I think it was more about Hamdi that night. Like, Hamdi showed up and he like his wrestling, his striking, and he looks like a legitimate guy. And I think that he could fight at a lower weight class and have a lot more success because he is going to run up against some people that, from a stature standpoint, give him some issues.
Eddie, appreciate you in the super chat. He says 3 must have DraftKings GPP and top spend up.
All right, Jason, let's do this. Can you give him your 3? And then I'm going to give him my 3. Let's see.
My 3 would be Terence McKinney.
Okay.
Sergey Spivak.
Okay. Gonna have to
probably
find
Jamal
something.
Hill.
Okay.
They're some of the most expensive. Like, if I was gonna go down and look for, maybe a little sour relief.
Let's do that to help him construct the lineup a little bit.
Either Bueno Silva or Vicente Luque.
All right, you ready for mine? That's not bad at all. I'm going to go Terence McKinney, Sergey Spivak, and complete leverage play in a close fight, Mauro Bueno Silva, 8,200.
Look, I don't mind you. I mean, but of course, when you want to create those lineups, will help you out a ton, is a Stokastic Plus pass. As of course, when you hear Pete and myself talk about ownership and things along those lines, we get all that information from the Stokastic Plus tools, as we got tools about almost every DFS sport out there. Gives you access to our premium content tools that include player projections, ownership projections, lineup builder, our premium Discord channel, and so much more. And we've got an offer. If you're a new Stokastic Plus user, you save 50% off your first week of any Stokastic Plus pass. All you got to do is click the link in the video description below to activate that offer, or you can head over to our join page at Stokastic.com and use the promo code MMALBL, all caps, one word, MMALBL, for 50% off your first week of any weekly pass. And of course, you sign up over there for that MMA Weekly Pass. You can do that. Of course, you need to add Fancy Cruncher to your account. It's not included in that base package, but easily can be added at checkout. And I will tell you, as I am looking right down here at the DK Top Fighter tool, which is the tool that I'm using to develop my lineups, I'm looking at that top 6 percentage. I mean, obviously, there's some ones. There's, as I look at that top 6 percentage, there's a guy sitting at 53% that I feel like we haven't talked a lot about, Pete.
Who?
Mihail Oleksiejczuk. We've talked a lot about Sam Alvey, but I feel like we haven't talked about Oleksiejczuk.
I mean, we haven't talked positively about Sam Alvey. Let's be real.
But we've mentioned his name. Okay.
Mihail Oleksiejczuk is a pivot to Terence McKinney. He brings pace. He brings pressure. He brings volume. I wouldn't say power is associated with Mihail Oleksiejczuk, but I would say relentlessness. And relentlessness can result in fantasy points, right? Like, could lead to, knockdowns. Alvey's really, really tough, sometimes too tough for his own good. And I wonder if the weight cut is going to zap, Alvey a little bit in this fight. It may make him extremely physical. He may be, the bigger, more powerful guy. I don't hate Michal Oleksiejczuk at all. I like him a lot more than, Corey McKenna in a bubble. I think McKenna does have some takedown upside, but she is at a big physical disadvantage. So Michal Oleksiejczuk, you can't get to McKinney. It's okay. Like I'm not going to be crying in the corner if I make a lineup without Terence Mckinney. Like that's the way to get different. Sometimes these 9,500 fighters, more often than not, they work out, but sometimes they'll get a finish. Who am I thinking of? Aaron Blanchfield, right? Against JJ Aldrich, struggled out the gate. And yeah, she got a finish, but because she was met with some adversity early, she was not in the optimal lineup. So a similar situation could occur. I think it's less likely, but I'm getting to Oleksiejczuk in some lineups as a pivot.
I mean, last week I was high on Ryan Koski, and that I want to say he was 8,700. I want to say maybe 8,800.
He was 88,
and that one didn't work out for me. And I talked to Orion earlier this week. Actually, interview will be on my podcast tomorrow, and he mentioned he's like, the weight cut took it out of me in that second round. He goes, I just, and he goes, the third round happened. He goes, I just need to go out there. And I mean, he was able to, I want to say, I don't know, maybe he got like 75, 80 points, maybe. But at that price point, I was looking for something, I was looking for 100 plus points. I mean, look, I'm going to be a big Terence McKinney backer here today. If he doesn't get 100 points, I don't see how that's going to work out for me.
Yeah. And I don't think if he doesn't get 100 points, he's not optimal unless something crazy happens. And if you're a little underweight, that's okay. And we will have to see. What I would say, right? He said he's hunting for a finish with you when you talk to him, right?
Yep.
I wonder if he is ever going to take a more patient approach. Still be extremely violent and look for the finish, but I wonder if he starts to pace himself a little bit. If he had average pacing, I don't think that he breaks the slate at 9,500. If he goes out there how he fights still, then he's going to break the slate. But it's all, we'll have to see how he goes out there and performs. He's one of the best plays on the slate. Clearly, I can't state that enough. So make sure you're getting to Terence McKinney.
And of course, if you're just developing your lineups, did lose 2 fights over the past 24 hours. Josh Quinlan versus Jason Witt and Ariana Lipsky versus Priscilla Cachoeira. Both those fights are now slated to take place next week at UFC San Diego. So adjust your lineups there. You don't, that's gonna be one of those things that when we do hit lock, just see how many lineups those fighters are in. Those are fighters you definitely do not want in your lineup. And look, Josh Quinlan was probably going to be a popular player today. People are going to look to, basically making a pick going against Jason Witt. So, and I want to say that is now next week going to be a catch weight of 160, I want to say.
Yeah. And I can't wait because if they are on next week, I already have an idea where I'm going. So, and it's probably against them. And we will have to see.
Best 9K fighter to use in a single entry.
McKinney.
He's a safe one. But if you really wanted to get different, I mean, Corey McKenna is an interesting leverage play in that 9,000 range.
Yeah, she burned me so bad against Elise Reed. And I think that Granger's hasn't been acclimated. That I don't think that Granger's going to give her as many problems as Elise Reed did, but she's a lot bigger than Elise Reed. So we'll have to see.
Loco saying, Pete, from a betting perspective, what are your 3 locks for the night?
Put your money in your pocket and don't bet on this fight card. No, for real. I mean, it's fun to bet, but not on a card like this. What I would do personally, and I hope I'm not wrong, but I'm going to give you basically what I said earlier. I like Sergey Spivak. I think Myra Bueno Silva, that the line movement's interesting. A lot of people are just flocking to Stephanie Egger. So I'll probably go with both of those. And then I would probably go Jamal Hill, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Tyler. I love how Tyler, producing all our shows, shout out to Tyler, does a great job behind the scenes. And now he's gotten into MMA big time since he's been working with us for a while, and love to see it.
I do like the Vicente Luque wins by decision prop, which earlier it was plus 240. It is now still plus 240, 250, 260, depending on the book you're at. That's one that I do like.
Yep, I like it too.
People are sleeping on Santos. I think he catches Hill. Well, I think the reason people are sleeping on Thiago Santos is based on what he's done in his last 5 fights. He's 1-4.
Yeah, I mean,
and he's 38 years old. I mean, he's not getting any younger. He had the knee issues following the John Jones fight, and he just what concerns you about Thiago Santos is looking at it from a fantasy perspective. We're trying to get guys that we believe are fighters that can get 100+ points, and if Thiago Santos doesn't get a knockout in round 1, and if he doesn't have the volume that we've seen in this past, couple of fights, I don't know if he gets that 100 point. But at 7,200, if he gets to 80 points and even a decision win, you're happy.
Yeah, I think raw points mean everything today. Like salary is non-existent. It's only going to make things difficult when you're rostering McKinney. Don't even care about how much salary is left on the table. Just care about getting a win. I do think that Santos, what we've seen from him, if he fights as he has in his past several against Jamal Hill, he's going to lose. But fighters develop, especially when you're under the tutelage of fighters at American Top Team and coaches at American Top Team. So, every now and then we'll see the new shiny toy stumble in a step up match. And it could be here. I'm not sold on it, but I am adjusting some of my lineups just in case.
Mention a question or a comment in the chat was about Mo Usman, and where Dave says that Zach loses Usman tonight. Usman Bird has put him through the best camp that money can buy. FYI, Usman trains at Fortis. That something to put it there. And no disrespect to Muhammad Usman here. He is not his brother. He's not.
Yeah.
And I've watched a lot of Muhammad Usman's fights for multiple years. Look, he entered the Ultimate Fighter off a loss. Let's not forget this. Zach was the guy that everyone pointed to when this season started. The Ultimate Fighter said that's the guy to beat. Now, is he a heavyweight? No, he's a light heavyweight. This is Zach's fight to lose.
Yeah, it all comes down to implementing the correct game plan. Like if he's held against the cage and Usman's able to get a takedown per round, then the weighing of damage versus control comes up. That's why I can see this fight happening like that. Like you have the control of Usman versus the damaging strikes of Pauga. So I'm picking Pauga. Doesn't mean I'm getting away from Usman, but I don't hold Usman in high regard just because of his last name.
Yeah. Look, it's going to be a promotional selling point of him tonight. You're going to see a ton of that, but it's just like we talked about. Antonina is not Valentina, and that's just, this is the lower level of the UFC heavyweight division. Let's just call it what it is. I watched a couple of the episodes of The Ultimate Fighter, Pete. I felt like I was just watching regional MMA.
It's pretty bad when I don't watch it. If I don't watch something and it's fighting, like the product has been watered down and it's not the same. Maybe it's because so many fights are on nowadays, and I don't feel the cast just seemed to be. I don't know.
I literally, I had a text message from a buddy. He's like, "Hey man, there was fights on last night and fights tonight." I'm like, yeah, it's PFL last night, UFC tonight. He goes, "God damn, there's just too many fights on."
Never too many fights. My girl, I was watching the fights and my girl's like, I'm like, I don't know. I mentioned the word PFL. She goes, "You're watching PFL now? Weren't you just watching Bellator?" I'm like, "No, baby. It wasn't Bellator. It's been PFL all night long." She goes, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "But sometimes I do flip. I got like 3-4 screens. I know that DraftKings now, they had legacy fighting on there too. So you better believe I'm going to be dabbling in some other stuff as well."
Bellator has fights next Friday, Pete, along with PFL.
Yeah.
PFL may be on Saturday.
And I'm hearing some rumblings that there's going to be some big news surrounding DraftKings. I don't know if it's going to be added contests for other promotions. I don't know if it's going to be related to some of their card releases. I don't know. But as far as their MMA product, I'm hearing some rumblings that some things are happening.
I think we should start. I think we should start our own promotion, but like only people above the age of 50 can fight. So it's like old man MMA. Like we need a seniors league like the PGA has, but for MMA.
You trying to get us to lose our promoter's license right from the start?
Yeah, right. I know one commissioner who will shut us down ASAP.
I don't know. I don't know, Pete. We might.
No way.
We might have to do some smoozing, but I think we can find the right fights.
Yeah.
We might be able to get an event regulated.
Yeah, my buddy Matt, shout out to my boy Matt, says my money's on Randy Couture. My money would be on Randy Couture as well. He's fantastic.
Yeah. By the way, next week, Heeman Gracie is only a -175 favorite against Gochi Yamauchi.
I haven't even looked at it. Yeah, it's an interesting fight.
I actually talked to Neiman the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting matchup if that fight hits the ground. Be interesting to see what kind of that does look like if it does hit the ground. But Pete, final thing, because we do got to get out of here because we got a live before lock coming up next.
Yeah, I just want to say, if you guys ever want Jason to interview somebody, just say like you really want him to interview somebody, shoot him a tweet at Jason_Floyd. If you want to tag him, you want to tag me at Pete the Heat MMA on Twitter. He'll try. He knows a lot of people in the industry, and if he can set it up, he will.
Like Lewis texting the management of last night of Josh Quinn and Jason Witt because they're both managed by the same manager. So That's what you got to do there. But appreciate everyone tuning in here for MMA Live for Lock. MLB Live for Lock is coming up next. Of course, Lock for MMA is at 7:30 p.m. Each time. Appreciate everyone tuning in and hope you have a great Saturday. I'll be back here on Stokastic tomorrow for the NASCAR Live Before Lock show. Of course, myself and Pete will be back here next Thursday for the strategy show. So hopefully everyone has a great weekend, and we will talk to you later. Have a good day, everybody.